Haley.
Hey.
Hey, what do you call a pickle that got run over?
I have no idea.
A road bill.
I think I got bad service here. I'll let you go.
Hey, love you, bye. Hey everyone, so today I am canning venison. I don't know if any of you guys have ever done that, but in our house it's kind of a staple. We like to have a lot of it for like winter meals, like easy winter meals for after ice fishing. Come home, open up a can of canned venison, cook some rice up, make a gravy for it, cook some vegetables up, and there you go, you got a meal, and it doesn't take that long. So it's a really hearty meal, really filling, and tastes awesome. So right now what I'm doing is cold packing the meat into the jars, just chunks like this big, so they're pretty good sized, because they process for 90 minutes for quarts. I want them to be really good size, so I want to make sure that they don't fall apart in the canning process. They're pressure canning, so because it's meat. So I'm going to get to it, and once I have the first batch going in, I'll kind of show you how I set up my canner, how many jars I can get in there and all that stuff. So once I get to that point, I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so this is my pressure canner, and it's like super old. It's an all-American. So we just have like the little wobbler thing on it. But first things first, I always add vinegar to my water inside my canner. So I already did that. I'm gonna get this going. And I always just turn this on high right away. In this pot, I have my venison stock from my bones to add to my jars. And I always do that, even though you don't need to add juice to your jars, because it'll make its own juice. But I'm adding that because when I open a jar to use it, I use that juice to make a gravy. So I like to have that extra juice. It's just the way I do it. And then back here I have my lids in water, so I'll get those on low. I'm going to do a teaspoon of ground black pepper. Then I'm going to do a tablespoon of salt and a teaspoon of garlic. And if you have fresh, great. If you have garlic powder, that'll work just as well. I just like having the minced in there. Because in the juices that I use for the gravy, I like to have that in there, the chunks. That's what they look like. Okay, so this is ready and hot. So I'm just going to put my ladle in. Get some of that hot liquid and start slowly filling. And you go to an inch headspace. You have to account for all the air in between the meat chunks, so this is where your skewer or your knife or whatever is going to come in handy. So shoving it down, making sure. Now your jar is going to be hot, so don't be grabbing it. Haley.
Hey,
Hey, what do you call a sloppy Joe made of venison?
I have no idea.
A sloppy dough.
Are you done yet?
Almost, but not really.
Okay, love you.
Okay, love you.
Bye.
Bye. One thing I wanted to mention was you want to make sure that you wipe the rings before you put your lids on. So I use white vinegar, and what this does is it gets all the fats and oils and salt, pepper, any of the seasonings, and to make sure that you get a good seal. So you want to make sure that you do that. It sucked to go through the whole process and not have a jar not sealed. So you want to make sure that you do that. And you're putting your rings on finger tight. So what that means is you're just turning them until they're tight to the fingers. Not too tight, not too loose. My canner holds 7 quarts. So I'm going to get these on tight. And I'm going to get this turned on high. And I have this open, so what's going to happen is the heat's going to start, it's going to start boiling in there, and the steam's going to come out here. So this wobbler is going to do nothing until I shut this like that. And I needed to do that to get the jars up to temp. So I want the jars to come to the same temperature as the water so that the jars don't crack. So my canner just started to let steam out. So I'm gonna let it go for a few more minutes before I start counting my 10. I want it a little more steady than that. But in the meantime, I did get my next 7 jars ready. So those are ready to get juiced. So I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes before I start my timer. All right, so no, you're not going out. All right, so these just came out. They haven't sealed yet. Oh, there goes one. So that'll be 14 total that I'll get out of all of that meat that I had. Awesome. Canned meat doesn't look the best, but I tell you what, it sure does taste good. If you get a chance to try making it, it's totally worth it. Hey Lee.
What?
There's a suspicious email going around.
Really?
In the subject line, it says canned meat. But you shouldn't open it because it's spam.
I'll go plug the lights in.